this week's Torah portion, we talk about the promise that Hashem makes to Avraham. Hashem promises Avraham that his children are going to inherit, that he is going to inherit the land of Israel. And it's going to be an inheritance for him and for his family forever. Interestingly enough, it was in 1976, there was an official UN brief that was arranged then by the ambassador to Israel, Chaim Herzog, who I believe that the current president of Israel is his son. He was Israel's ambassador to the UN, and he actually had them include in this official UN brief how the biblical account of how there is a legality to the Jewish people owning the land in Israel, which is a very interesting idea. Something you're looking back at the history there, a little bit of a historic thing, which happened back in 1976. But side point, not really directly related to what we're learning about today. Kind of relates to that. So let's start with a bit of something from the writings of the Ramban. The Ramban is often, very often, he is confused with the Rambam. The Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, is known as Maimonides. The Ramban is Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, who is known as the Nachmanides. So they have a very similar acronym to their name that we use, makes it confusing, but they actually are very different people. He also lived in Spain, similar time frame, but they were two different people. So he writes as follows regarding an interesting question regarding the promises we find in this week's Torah portion that Hashem makes to our forefather Avraham about the land of Israel. And he writes as follows. Now the Holy One, blessed be He, promised Avraham the gift of the land many times, and all of the promises served a purpose. So the question is, he already promised Avraham that his children are going to get the land of Israel. Why does he have to keep repeating the promise again and again? Why do we need multiple verses mentioning the same exact idea of this gift of the land of Israel? It seems superfluous. So he says that no, every single time that it's mentioned, there is a specific purpose, a specific lesson that we're meant to get from that, something new in every time it's mentioned. So when he initially arrived in the land, he said to him, unto your seed I will give this land. But God did not clarify the extent of his gift. So it was a very general idea. This land you're going to get. But he didn't explain where is this land, what is it talking about. Afterwards, when his merit increased while in the land, he bestowed upon him the added promise, lift now your eyes and look northward, southward, eastward, and westward. Meaning they will give him all those lands in their totality. So in the beginning, it was just a general idea. This land could mean the field you're in right now. It doesn't necessarily mean the whole area. So then God tells Abraham, no, look in every direction. It's going to go all in all these places, which the message is that you're going to get all of it. Everything is going to go to you. The third time, God clarified the boundaries of the land to him, mentioning that it included the territories of all the 10 nations presently inhabiting it. So the third time, God tells Abraham, he lists 10 different nations. It says, these are the lands that you're going to inherit. So he specified exactly these 10 nations are going to be inherited by the Jewish people. And later, on the fourth occasion, when he commanded him concerning circumcision, he told him, for a possession forever. That is to say that even if they are exiled from it, they will again return and inherit it. So the fourth time, what was he adding? He was saying that yes, the Jewish people will be exiled, they will be sent out, they're going to leave the land of Israel, but they're going to come back. Because this is an eternal possession. It is always going to belong to the Jewish people. Even when they are removed from there, they're going to come back and be part of that again. Are you trying to answer? Okay, I thought someone was asking a question. So what is this idea of the Jewish homeland, the land of Israel? How do we fit into the land of Israel? What's our connection to the land of Israel? We have many places that they could be ours, right? We can have places that we feel like we have ownership of it, but we only have one home. We have places that are, we feel comfortable, we feel like we belong here. It's our favorite hotel. It's a beautiful vacation spot, but it's not home. Home is something special. Home is a place that's where I can just be me. Right? After a long day of work, you come home, you kick off your shoes, you put your feet up. This is home. We have one home that's our place, that we feel comfortable, and we feel like this is where I belong. And that is what the land of Israel is for the Jewish people. It's our place that's home. It's where we just belong. Yes, we may be currently living in America or maybe living in other places, but our home is in the land of Israel. That's where we belong. That is our place. And we've always had this connection to the land ever since Abraham, ever since Abraham was given the land by God as an eternal inheritance for the Jewish people. Ever since then, it's been our home. It's been our place where we belong, no matter what happens. And so this is what the Ramban, and this is why God tells Abraham, leave your hometown, leave your current place, leave the place where you're born, leave your family, and go to this unknown land, this new place that I'm going to show you. From when Abraham entered the land, God says, I want you to walk through the land, walk through the length, the breadth of the land, acquire all of it. And now it gets passed down through the generations to his son and to his grandson and to all of his grandchildren forever as a place for the Jewish people forever. And what the Ramban continues, the Nachmanides continues, and he explains that from when God first gave when God first promised Abraham that he is going to have the land, first he tells him it's for you, and then he says it's going to be an inheritance for your children, and it's going to continue later on. And then finally, God actually tells Abraham, he tells Abraham, I gave it. It's already yours. It's not something in the future. It's not a promise that I'm going to give it to you. But he eventually actually tells him, I've already given it to you. It's already yours. It belongs to you. It belongs to your family forever and ever. And so even if things happen and we get exiled, we get removed from the land, we end up going into exile and persecution, all the things that happened in our history, it's still home. It's still our place. It's where we belong. It's where we're going to eventually return, because this is our place. It's where we belong. And so, as we know, the Jewish people, they left Egypt. They traveled through the desert for 40 years. And then finally they arrived in the land. Joshua led the Jewish people across the Jordan River into the land of Israel. They conquered the land and they arrived in the land. And the question is this the promise? Is this the conclusion? Is this where we have received what God promised Abraham? Or is there more to it? Is that the full package? And for this, we turn to a writing from Rabbi Avraham Saha. Rabbi Avraham Saba, who was also a biblical scholar from Spain. And he writes as follows. The verse states, and God will make you greater than your ancestors. Since it's stated earlier in the same verse, and you will inherit it, the latter refers to the land of Canaan, which is the land of only the 7 nations that the Jews inherited for the first time. They arrived in the days of Yeshua. But now in the final redemption, we are sure that God will give us the lands of the nations, Cani, Kenizi, and Kadmoni as well, finalizing his promise to Abraham of 10 territories. So if you look at the promise that God tells Abraham, he mentions 10 different nations that are going to then become the possession of the Jewish people, of Abraham and his descendants forever. But yet, if you look at the reality, what happened when Yeshua conquered the land? He only conquered 7 nations. He did not conquer 10 nations. What happened to the remaining 3? And so what Rabbi Avraham Saba here is telling us is that was the first time was only 7 nations. But in the future, when Mashiach comes, we will receive the full fulfillment of this promise when we receive not only 7 nations, we receive all 10 nations that God had initially promised Abraham and the Jewish people. So although today we look at Israel and we say, you know what? Maybe we feel like we're back in the land. We feel like the prophecy is being fulfilled. We're back in the land of Israel. We've received our inheritance. We're back here where we belong. But it's not it. This is not the promise. This is missing. This is not the full picture of what we're looking for. Obviously, we're very thankful for what we have today, but this is not the full fulfillment of the promise. That will only be when we can fully observe our connection to the land as we're meant to. When we build the holy temple, where we have the special mitzvot that are connected to the holy temple, special things that are connected to the holy land, that will only be when the Mashiach comes. When we have the dynasty of David comes back as a monarchy, when we have the complete promise of all 10 lands, as God promised to Abraham of the the Knizi and Kadmoni, all 10 nations will be there together, living in prosperity with the Jewish people, inheriting all 10 lands. There is a question of what are these three lands, the three remaining lands of Knizi and Kadmoni. What are these lands? Where do they actually fit on a map? So there's different opinions. Some say it's in Carthage, some say Thrace in Arabia, Asia Minor. These are all lands that neighbor the land of Israel, and from these nations there'll be three nations that are going to be added on to the map of the land of Israel. What we do know is that these are the lands that were acquired originally by Abraham's relatives, either by um, either by Edom. One of them is Edom, which is the land of Esav, and the other ones were the lands of the Moab and Ammon, who were descendants of Lot, who was the nephew of Abraham. So these are relatives of Abraham that acquired the land temporarily. They were kind of set up as the stewards of the land until the Jewish people are ready to receive their full inheritance of the full land. And at that time, it's not going to be acquired through a war. We're not going to conquer the remaining three lands. The remaining three lands, um, they're going to voluntarily offer their lands. They will offer it as the rightful inheritance of the Jewish people to become part of the land of Israel. And this will only happen when Mashiach comes with the final redemption. But on a deeper level, we've spoken about this previously in our soul maps. We're studying the book of the Tanya. We discussed this concept other times as well, how there are the 10 sfirot that we all have within us. We all have 10 different 10 different and how do we describe this there? We use the term of 10 different characteristics that we have. 7 of them are the 7 emotional characteristics. 3 of them are the intellectual characteristics. And so the 7 emotional characteristics, those are things that we can control. We have the ability today to control our emotions. We can choose how we represent ourselves through our emotions. But when it comes to the intellectual capacities, that's much harder. That's something that takes a lot more effort. We're not quite there yet. And so today, before the coming of Mashiach, we can already take full control over our emotional. We can control our emotions today. This is something that we all have the ability to control to the fullest extent. When Mashiach comes, we'll be on a higher level. We will also have control over the remaining 3 lands. We will also have full control over our intellectual capacity to be able to really control it and have our minds completely geared towards the thoughts and intellects of the godly pursuits. And so today, before we have that, before we reach that time where we can control all our 10 different aspects, today we also can do our best. We can try to work with our emotions to make sure we really have control over our emotions, and we can also see what we can do to expand into those other areas, into the intellectual areas, by studying a little more Torah, by thinking, good thoughts, proper thoughts that will lead us down the right path, which will be as a preparation for the coming of Mashiach, when we'll have full control over all of our capacities and all of the lands of the land of Israel. We look forward to it happening very soon. Thank you for joining.